Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Fits. I hope today's talk gives you a fit. I love this, Zen Fits. So it's going to be interesting because it's Saturday morning and everybody in the house is asleep and Morning Joe's not on. So sat down to Facebook and got into an experience a friend was having, and I'm going to talk about that because it fits into what we've been looking at in our daily fits here, and the title of this talk is God Dwells in a Sinkhole. You know, we always read about these sinkholes, especially in Florida. They're very popular there. But suddenly, your normal neighborhood or something opens up and it just drops, cars fall in it, and it doesn't seem to have, it's like a land whirlpool. You know, it's like it's like the ground gives way and suddenly you can fall in there and where's the bottom to it? Why is this coming? What's going on here? It's like the vortex in a whirlpool in the ocean or in your tub or in the toilet. I mean, the vortex just sucks stuff down into it. Where is it going? So there's a fear here. This is why earthquakes are so terrifying, because we think the ground is solid and suddenly everything is shaking, you see. So the sinkhole triggers a fear of something that we know is always there, but we cover it up with asphalt. So anyway, this lady had an experience where she was, and I'll paraphrase here pretty much, but she was just doing normal everyday stuff in Walmart, and some guy was staring at her in his car, and she thought it might be a friend, or she might know them, so she kind of like stared back, and then he gave her the finger and started following her, and she was terrified, you know. Now there was a look. This look happened, you know, and then so she had to go home another way, and so he wouldn't, you know, so she could get away, you know. Finally got home, and now she's plagued with the fear, you know. There's a fear now, from this look, and I know, you know, I've been told and read, you know, that when you go to a big city, like especially in New York, you don't make eye contact with people. Everybody's reading, everybody's looking down at their iPhone, you know, their phone or something. You're sitting on the subway, you don't go around, you don't make eye contact, start staring at somebody. This is an explosive thing. Are you looking at me? You know, that kind of, the look, you know. But the irony is that this same look can be a love story. You're on the subway and you look at a man or a girl, or man or woman, you know, whatever, and suddenly there's a look, and the next thing you know, you're in a movie. You know? A love affair starts. That look is the beloved. You suddenly know that's the one. Just from that look, that's the one. And it's pursued, and the two get together, and you got you know, a beautiful romance and all of that, you know. It all started from a look on the subway. And people say, well, I just knew that was the one. So that was the one. Now that's interesting. So there's two looks here. One is an evil eye, and one is the eye of love. But it's still a look. Isn't that interesting? Same look can go two ways. To love, to bliss, to ecstasy, to terror. What's going on, you know? So, you know, in writing to my friend, I kind of like realized, you know, this when I write, stuff comes up and it informs me, because I never thought of it before. But we can notice that when a sinkhole like that opens up, and I think we've all had this experience where we get this look of a stranger, and it creates a terror, you know. It opens something up. It opens a wound up. Fighters will stare at each other before they fight. Tomcats will stare at each other. And at some point, there's a tipping point, and take tomcats for instance, they stare at each other. And if one of them blinks, it slinks away. And this one is the one. But if neither blinks, you see, which is the one? Each one wants to be the one, but they can't because they're two. So, and you watch the tomcats, and then suddenly at some inexplicable moment, the tension is so great that they just go together in tremendous fury, you see. Wow, you know. And this is such a great example because it's in everybody's backyard. The tension of the two that wants to become one gets, either one blinks and goes away, or at some point they just leap at each other in intense fury, you see. And that's the boxing match, is that. You have this, who's going to be the winner, who's going to be number one. Both of them say, I'm going to be number one, but only one can be one. So they got to get rid of the other. So there's this tremendous tension. And so the boxing ring just kind of like is a controlled tomcat fight, is controlled tension of two people who want to be number one. Our politics is that. Who's going to be number one? So you got these contenders. Each wants to be number one, but they can't. Neither. Well, the only way to be number one is to eliminate the other, you see. There must be one. So when we get a look of a beloved or the evil eye, what's interesting about the evil eye, that nature knows about this. You know how many fish and butterflies particularly, and fish have an evil eye on them? I was reading in one situation where they were putting some biscuits out for the birds, and they put a biscuit out there with a little nut on it or something on it so it looked like an eye, and the birds wouldn't touch it. You take that little pupil off and they'd flock to it and eat it. So nature knows about this eye. And look at temples. It's the evil eye is used to scare away, you know, this eye. And we look at the horror movies. All these horror movies are about the evil eye. The baleful eye of Chucky, or the zombie, or the Terminator. You know, this eye, this staring, baleful eye that does not see you as a person. I think so. So as we look into this sinkhole, you know, there seems to be the look, the evil eye, seems to divide me so that I'm seeing myself through the other and myself at the same time, so I'm two. You see, we walk around in our neighborhood of reality and we think we're one. A sense of self. I'm one. And, you know, we call it the ego or the self. I'm the one. And I'm not, if I'm two, then maybe I'm psychotic and I have to go to a therapist. Maybe I have multiple personalities or I'm a schizophrenic. But the normal consciousness is I'm one. I'm not two. Did you see the movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise? I love that movie because it really was an inquiry into what happens if you have an identical clone, who is the one? If you have an identical clone of you, which one of you is the one, you see? But anyway, I digress. So the idea here is that the look splits us and makes us aware of the terror of being two, and we lose our one. You see, so my friend, basically, when this person stared with the evil eye, she stared back. Boom, there was a wound opening up, a sinkhole opening up, and she became two. In other words, she was herself, but she was also herself looking through the eye of the other. Who am I? Am I this eye or this eye? That's the wound. Who am I? See, my center is lost. And when the center is lost, that's when thinking comes in to repair the sinkhole. So thinking, particularly the monodialogue, this whirlpool of thinking, now she's caught up in a whirlpool of thinking. And thinking is trying to go back in time and repair the wound. Maybe I should have done this, or why did he do that? Or, oh my God, is he out there and looking? Is he follow me outside and peek out the window, you see? And is he in that shadow over there? Where this terror, this sinkhole is everywhere, you see. Now, the fear is everywhere. Did you see these YouTubes on the Chinese glass bridges? And they have this bridge going over the abyss, but it's glass, so when you go out there, there's a loss of center. Rationally, you say, I'm okay, I'm on the bridge, it's everything fine, but your sense data says there's nothing there. You're going to fall, you see. So there's, where am I? There's a division and a panic, and people get paralyzed, you see. So this paralysis of the look is created by a separation of ourself into two eyes. Instead of one eye, me looking around, I'm one, you're one, we're all looking around from our center. Now that center is divided by the look, and I'm seeing, who am I? I'm in the other eye, or am I here? You see, and I'm split. Now the lovers, you see, the loving eye, the beloved eye, the eye of the beloved is still a look, but now it's a look of unity. In the eye of the beloved, when you look at somebody, and that look is that look is the look that makes me one that I'm two. The two become the one, you see. But in the evil eye, in the same look, the one, that oneself is split into two opposites that can't get back together. So there's this, you see. Isn't that interesting? So we can watch this. So what did I write? What did I suggest? Well, what I suggest was looking at it from this, not as an event in time with people and things and places and ruminating about where I was and what happened and all of these form things, but look at it more like as from a psychological point of view. I hate to use that word, but from a view that this is about me. So you kind of like disconnect from the story and just begin to look at the fear, the sinkhole itself, you see. So this way, what we have to, thought cannot pave over that sinkhole, because the sinkhole is a wound in my consciousness. And thought is an abstraction, and thought can't go back in time and redo it, so there's no way thought can heal it. Thought keeps coming up with alternative ways. Thinking comes up, and we noticed yesterday we were talking about the vicious vortex. When on-off thinking, when the certainty of our on-off thinking is destroyed, which the look does, the look destroys our on-off thinking, and we plumb into into worry, and then into a dilemma, you see, and into panic, because thinking cannot pave over that split in the self, you see. So this wound basically is in all of us. We're all walking over a thin, opaque sheet of glass or ice over these sinkholes. A sinkhole can open up anytime. The doctor can call and say, I'm sorry, the lab test was really bad. Or you go to the store and something, and you have a car wreck or something, and suddenly your life changes. You know, so the sinkhole is a sudden, unexpected change in my expectation of how the world should be. It's like a crack, a fissure that opens up, you know, in a street that we walk on every day. The sinkhole opens up and exposes something. What does that expose? You see? Well, we really need to look into that. And the only way to look into it is to disconnect it from the thinking and the story and the history of it, you see, which is like a first responder running around trying to cover it up again, cover it up. No, don't cover it up. Leave it open. Leave it open and just go over and stand there next to it. Say, well, what's in this? What's in this fear? What's in this darkness? What's in this hole? Because it really is a hole into our own consciousness. See, that's what we fear. The hole opens up. My consciousness is kind of like, our consciousness is kind of like a hologram. And our consciousness, our mind creates a world and then we live in it. And everybody's got their place, and I have my beliefs and my religion and my politics and all these expectations and all my plans and my history and my regrets and all of that. And it's my world and I live in it, you see. And then suddenly life cracks it open and there's a sinkhole. Well, what we try to do, because we don't want to look into the sinkhole, because there is nothing we have known in there. You see, this is the unknown. The sinkhole is the hole of the unknown. And there's nothing we know that's in there. You know, that goes to the center of the earth, you see. So we try to cover it back up, but we can't. So it may linger for years, this fear, you know. I can remember, and this is a very mild example, but it's very strong in my memory because I guess it's the first time it ever happened to me. But I was at a carnival, and I was standing in the crowd, and there was a barker, a guy standing up there trying to sell his booth, and so he spies me standing there. I'm lost in anonymity. I'm lost in the crowd. Nobody knows I'm there. I don't even know I'm there. I'm just standing there like that. And he points at me. Come here. You. And I said, and I remember the shock of being seen. You know, the shock of being looked at and seen. Me, you know, that was like I snapped out of my sleep. Snapped out of my sleep, you see. So anyway, that's a very mild thing, but I just brought that up because these little sinkholes where you're snapped out of your sleep, you're jerked awake, you see, can be traumatic or can be a transformative moment. I talked about this the other night in The Secret Flower. When somebody spontaneously just looks at you and recognizes you, they look at you, and you go, oh, I exist. I exist in that look. And that's what love is. You exist in the look of the other. And that other becomes you, and you become the other for them. And that's the restoration of unity, you see, of the two become one. And that's what love is all about. But that same look is the two, or you're separated from one. You see? So now there's a fear that I've lost my center, I've lost myself, you see. And it's Humpty Dumpty. I can't put it back together again. So the only way to put it back together is to welcome it and say, doggone it, I'm going to look in this sinkhole, not to fix it, not to figure out who this guy, the guy doesn't matter. I'm going to actually thank that guy for looking at me. I'm going to thank him for opening up this opportunity for me to look in this sinkhole. Because I want to see what's in this hole. And when we can do that, without fear, with curiosity, with interest, what we find in there is God, is our own self, is our own self-love. You see, because the sinkhole has destroyed my self-love. It's destroyed my sense of self and split me into two parts, the broken heart, you see. So the only way to bring myself back together is by looking at the wound. You can't heal the wound by turning your back on it, you see. And we turn our back on God all the time. So what I say is God's hiding in the sinkhole, because what's hiding in there is me. My old guru would always say, God dwells within you as you. Well, that's a nice idea, but how do you actually experience that? So you have to go where God is hiding. And where is he hiding? In our terror. So, yes, the sinkhole opened up. Yes, let me meditate upon it. Let me sit next to it like it's a pond. Let me just sit next to the sinkhole like the Buddha under a tree. And let me just see what's in there, you see. And when we look, it's like clearing the algae away from a pond. And we look in there and we see our own smiling self. We see the face of God. We see our own love hiding in there, like a little child trembling, you see. Welcome me home. Come back. Welcome. I welcome myself back. There's nothing to fear. There's no terror in there. This whole event, you see, was just an opportunity, you could say, even given by God, so you can see God within yourself. That's all God wants. He wants to see himself through you. Where do you look? You look where he's hiding. You look where you've been running from him. So anyway, God dwells in a sinkhole is my talk for today. And have a great Saturday.